everyone, it's Paul here. What's the longest song you can think of? What about the shortest? I've been thinking about this, and there are examples of pieces of music which might fit the bill. Chopin's Waltz in D-flat major, the minute waltz, lasts a little bit longer than a minute, but is usually performed in about 2 minutes. Whereas Wagner's Ring Cycle is a full-on 15 hours of German opera when all performed together. Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear by Elvis Presley clocks in at 1 minute and 47 seconds. But the full album version of I Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf is a whopping 12 minutes of rocking power ballad. In the jazz world, the theme by Miles Davis Quintet is just 2 minutes long, whereas John Coltrane's My Favourite Things from the Live in Japan album is a full hour of jazz. These are some extreme examples of long and short songs, but that's hardly scratching the surface. There's always someone who will take things to the next level. And trying to make the longest or the shortest piece of music is something that'll be taken to the furthest reaches of possibility. So, short pieces of music then. The Abbey Road album by the Beatles packs 18 songs into 51 minutes, with 6 of those lasting under 2 minutes. And Her Majesty at a very petite 23 seconds. This is, however, a really long time compared with some of the shorter pieces of music out there. Beethoven's Bagatelles, opus 119, the 10th movement, will last between about 7 and 13 seconds. Even in this short space of time, there is a beauty to the piece, and there is a definite structure as well. When we get to music shorter than this, we really start getting into the question of what makes a piece of music. I would say that personally to me, a piece of music should evoke something in you, be that feelings of love or passion, feelings of sadness or anything else. Music should have the power to move you in some way. This is why I don't think you can argue that Bagatelle No. 10 is anything but a piece of music. It bounces along and has a syncopated bass line that feels edgy but has a delicacy to it as the melody flows over the top. So, if a piece of music should get a response on an emotional level, then what about this piece of music? Is this music? The Netflix stinger lasts for less than 5 seconds. It doesn't do much, but it does get a response. In an almost Pavlovian way, my response is one of anticipation. The anticipation of what's to come. Is it going to be dramatic, comical, educational? It really depends, but the sound when you open up Netflix elicits the feeling of something cinematic. You've sat down to watch something on your sofa, in your front room, or maybe just on your phone while riding on the train. It does make you feel something. This is called the liminal effect, and gives us the perceived effect of walking through the cinema lobby before you get to the screen. The sights, the smells, the overpriced pick and mix. This has been effectively summed up in the beating of a drum twice and a D5 chord. In 1989, the British grindcore band Napalm Death released the song You Suffer on their 1987 debut album Scum. The song clocks in at exactly 1.316 seconds. This has apparently been confirmed as the shortest ever song released by the Guinness Book of World Records. However, when I searched through their records, I couldn't find anything about the record, so if anyone has any information to confirm this, then I'd love to hear it from you. Let's have a listen. Personally, the Netflix jingle to me is more of a piece of music than this, but the release was said to have been somewhat of a novelty, with Justin Broadrick of Napalm Death saying, "You Suffer was largely a comedy thing, 1 second song. It's ridiculous, but it was hilarious." In response to this song, YouTuber Elsie Eklund beat that, making her song I Suffer More of 0.875 seconds in 2009.
I suffer more.
Okay, this is definitely more of a piece of music to me. 2 chords, you can hear the words. Nice. This was beaten again earlier this year by the song Monko by Ursula, with a song lasting just 0.5 seconds. So when it comes to short songs, you really have a point where you can't possibly get any shorter. I guess we could get a song that is quicker than half a second. After all, half a second is a long time. Usain Bolt can run about 6 meters in the same time. But there comes a point when you've got to ask yourself if the song that you're hearing is a song Or is it just a sound? Where is the cutoff? I'll let you decide. But while you're thinking, here's my song, which I've called 2-5 Fun, which is dedicated to music theorists everywhere. And by the way, this is 0.4 seconds long. 2-5 Fun! So when it comes to long songs, I've already mentioned a few. Let's start with the Guinness Book of World Records again. I have been able to find the record, and it's a song from 2016 called The Rise and Fall of Bossa Nova by PC3 and dwarfs Meatloaf's 12-minute rock marathon with a length of 13 hours, 23 minutes and 32 seconds. I've not listened to the whole of it yet, I am working my way through it. It's a rather wonderful new age piece of music with synths and ocean noise and vocal effects thrown in all over the place, and has a number of different themes and sections, and is honestly something I could listen to quite happily. It's broken down on iTunes into 5 different sections, which I think it makes it much more listenable. But it does make me wonder if this isn't really just one very long piece of music, but a collection of movements of a very long work, a bit like Wagner's Ring Cycle, which is made up of 4 separate operas. If we're wanting to go longer than that, we're really starting to look at abstract and avant-garde creations, which stretch at the meaning and understanding of what music is. Karlheinz Stockhausen has written an opera commonly known as The Days of the Week, and consists of 29 hours of music. The opera is said to have no beginning or end, just as there is no beginning or end to the week. It just continues to eternally spiral on and on. One of the most famous parts of the work is in the Wednesday section, where a string quartet is separated into 4 helicopters, which then hover over the concert hall to perform. Then we get to video game music. Music themes from Super Mario World or Tetris could be classed as long pieces of music, but these are loops and there is a clear and definite start and end point where the loop goes. And the loop is only a couple of minutes long at best. More modern music for games has certainly come a long way, with scores written for full orchestra, and epic pieces of music have been written for many number of great video games. Orchestral music has become so popular with video games that even Candy Crush Soda Saga recorded their game music at Abbey Road Studios with the London Symphony Orchestra. These games aren't using particularly long pieces of music, but one game has taken its music making to whole new lengths. No Man's Sky has created an almost infinite universe which you can explore over 18 quintillion planets. They've used music by the British band 65 Days of Static and broken down their music recorded for the game into thousands of separate samples, which are then replicated using various algorithms within the game to produce an entirely new score for every single player, with changes in the music for each different planet you visit and each different situation you encounter. On average, the game is played for about 45 hours in total by each player, which means they have been part of a performance of an individual piece of music that could be conceivably 45 hours worth of a math rock ambience. When you consider that around 800,000 copies were sold in 2016 alone, that's around 36 million hours of unique music that has been created. Although it's pretty safe to say that we couldn't call this the longest song ever. It's maybe just 800,000 really long individual songs, which are all pretty similar. It seems amazing that I've stayed away from mentioning John Cage so far. I couldn't give him top billing in both longest and shortest pieces of music, so it will just be an honourable mention in the shortest piece of music section, with his piece called 0 minutes, 0 seconds, with the instruction: in a situation provided with maximum amplification, perform a disciplined action. In the first performance, Cage wrote that sentence as his disciplined action. As for the longest piece of music, John Cage wrote his piece for piano as long as possible in 1985, and later rewrote it for organ in 1987. Cage has left any actual timings for the piece absent, with the exception of the title, leaving it to the performer's discretion to pick a tempo to play the piece. Performances have ranged in length from around 8 hours to 24 hours, with Diane Luches playing it entirely by herself over almost 15 hours. For one piece of music, that's quite a feat. However, in 1997 it was discussed that the piece could be performed for longer on the organ, as a well-maintained organ has an almost indefinite lifespan. In 2001, a performance started in Halberstadt, Germany, which is still going today, and section 1 of the piece is scheduled to finish in July 2071. I might just be around still and be able to be there for the start of section 2. There is often periods of years between individual note or chord changes, and the next one is going to be taking place on the 5th of September 2020, with the addition of a G sharp and an E to the chord already playing, which takes us to about halfway through the first line of the score. The performance in its entirety will end in over 600 years' time, in 2640. The prospect of a piece of music which is being measured in centuries rather than minutes, hours, days, weeks or even years is somewhat mind-blowing, and I can only wonder what state the world will be in by that time, or what impact the music will have on the countless numbers of people who will come across it in the next half a millennium. As I mentioned earlier, music should evoke some kind of emotional response. The thought of as long as possible being considered music that lasts for centuries is a bit silly. But when I think about it in a bit more depth, there is really a strong emotional response. I feel invested in the long term for this piece and would like to get to Halberstadt at least once to be in the building where the performance is taking place. And I hope that perhaps my great grandchildren might hear about it, and we might possibly be connected in some great way in music and in time through this still continuing performance. Of course, the longest piece ever might not be long in terms of actual time, but whenever I listen to MacArthur Park by Richard Harris, I can't help but feel that time has stopped, and it feels like millennia have passed, while the mindless, repetitive drudgery of the song keeps going and going. Perhaps music is all just relative anyway. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, Fine, fine, fine. If you have enjoyed this video, why not subscribe so you never miss the latest Music Bites videos as they are uploaded each week. While you're waiting for the next one, have a look at some of my other videos, and you can follow me on social media as well.